What is a dirty business tactic that you know, and everyone should be aware of it? If you're buying a used car, and it's parked over a puddle, they don't want you to look underneath. Oh, that's effing disgustingly dirty move. If you're buying a used car, and a puddle stops you from looking under it, you wouldn't know what to be looking for. I get the idea, but who would buy a car without driving it? After the drive, park it wherever you want, and then look under it. Since people fancy themselves clever, I'm obviously talking about used cars. New cars can be a different story, but you should drive those, too, at least to see how it feels to be behind the wheel of it. I did. I bought a used truck without even looking inside it. My husband pointed to it on the lot, and said he wanted it. After we were in an accident, I went and bought it for him as a surprise. My dad looked at it, while I was at work, and said it looked fine. He even went to the credit union, and got the ball rolling on a loan. I basically showed up, signed my name, and drove it home. We kept it 8 years, and it was a good truck. Mattress stores that have the find it anywhere else for cheaper, you get your money back deal contract with the manufacturer to make the exact same model of bed, but with a model name specific to that store, so nobody can ever cash in on that deal. Best Buy does this as well, to avoid price matching. You'll notice A, B, or something at the end of the product number, which makes it a different product. Not sure if this fits, but if you are offered a raise for taking on new responsibilities, get it in writing. Just learn that the hard way. Been there myself. Manager promoted me, said pay raises will come soon, based on performance, then suddenly he wasn't my manager anymore. No paper trail of the promotion or promised pay raises, but I was still stuck with the extra responsibility. Edit, previous job. Bet your ass I quit. Every month, and every 4 weeks, sound similar, but are different. Paying every month gets you 12 payments, every 4 weeks gets you 13. Edit, thanks for top comment, just something my dad taught me when I first got a debit card. Yep. Gold's Gym changed their pricing structure a few years back to bill you $18 bi-weekly instead of $35 per month. At a glance, it looked like a small $2 per month increase, but in reality it was $2 per month more, plus 2 extra payments per year. I complained, and they kept me on the previous plan, saying I was grandfathered in, since I'd had a membership for like 5 years. Edit, it's only a $1 per month increase. I suck at math. Edit number 2, to clarify, I meant to correct the part where I said, it looked like a small $2 per month increase. $18 times 2 equals $36, up from $35 per month, looks like a $1 per month increase, but it's that plus the 2 extra payments per year, plus the extra opportunities for them to collect late fees. I'm very hungover, please give me a pass on this one. When finding a home for your elderly parents, set up an appointment, but come in a few minutes early and say, don't ask if you can walk around for a quick look. The receptionist likely won't refuse you, and the salesperson won't be ready for you. These places like to show you only the stuff they want you to see when being led around by a salesperson. Chat with a resident or a staff member, they'll be the most honest with you. Another tip, ask the local fire department their opinion of a place. They respond to the home's 911 calls, and see how put together the nursing staff is when your parents need them the most. Source, was an EMT for years, and responded to multiple nursing homes. Some of them were worse than a prison, and I would rather mercy kill my loved one than put them in those places. Edit, holy shit, my first gold. I'm happy it's a post where I discuss mercy killing my parents. Edit 2, F it, I don't live there anymore, so I'll give some advice about the area I worked. Temple, Texas, under no effing circumstances should you allow your loved ones to go into Regency Manor. None. If you want details, and you're in the area, feel free to drop me a line. Ask about fire procedures too. When I worked in a care home, we would do a fire test weekly. We all had extensive fire evacuation training. We knew exactly which residents would need to be moved in a specific way. We knew where each exit was, and that if it wasn't safe to leave, shut the door, put some wet towels in the gap between the door and floor, and keep close to the window. I went for a job interview at a different home, asked about fire evacuation, and they looked at me like I had 2 heads. In Nova Scotia, Canada, severance pay is paid on the average of your last 30 days of pay. This means that some companies will actually reduce your hours to minimum, your last month with them, if they are going to lay you off. Happened to my wife. She worked for this company for 5 years, worked 35+ hours per week, suddenly, she wasn't getting shifts. Boom, layoff notice. Happened to other folks too. Call the labor board. I don't know about in Nova Scotia, but here in Ontario that's illegal. Even if she quit, because she wasn't getting enough hours, due to them reducing it, she'd still be entitled to pay. They cannot reduce your hours by more than a certain percent each week. Can't remember the percent, can tell you I have fought this, and won. This is known as constructive dismissal, where the terms of your employment change so drastically that the labor board considers it equivalent to being fired. You should be entitled to employment benefits based on the hours prior to your constructive dismissal. I worked in the collections department of Discover Card for a while. One thing they did, maybe still do, to lure customers to them, is offer 0% APR for the first year. People would jump on this and transfer all their debt onto their new Discover Card, and then the company would conveniently not send the first month's bill. In the fine print of the agreement, it states that, if you miss even one payment in that first year, your APR will jump to 29.95%. Half of my calls were to these new customers, who would then proceed to throw a fit, because they didn't ever get the bill, and I had to explain to them that it was their job to know when the bill was due, and sending one was just a courtesy extended by the company. I hated that job. It ate away at my soul. In the US, the Federal Card Act in 2010 made it a requirement to send a bill 21 days before the due date. If this was after that, they weren't just being slimy but straight up illegal. This happened to me with my student loans. Didn't get a bill until my university financial aid contacted me to inform me that I was in default. This was 6 months after I called the same office, asking them to connect me with the company that I needed to pay, and them telling me not to worry, that company would contact me when it was time. Ruined my credit score, since it was the only debt I had at the time. When I was in the process of moving into my current home, I transferred the title of my old home and land to my sister, because she was buying it and moving in when I left. Within the next few weeks, she started getting all the "welcome to the neighborhood" coupons and flyers. She didn't even change her address, so, I assume, companies track title changes with the Register of Deeds. The sketchiest was a pest control company, claiming to have an existing account on the property, and recommending she continue to use their services. They detailed dates and changes, referenced termites. It was all lies. All the dates shown were while I owned the property, and I never even heard of this company before she received that letter. Edit, a word. Edit 2, people are prying, and I don't want to give too much info, but this took place in North Carolina. I am aware that title changes are public record, but I was surprised by the speed. The small town I live in can take up to 2 months to update their online public databases. Clearly there are ways to get the info I was not aware of. We have many more clients interested in this limited offer. I've actually said, "Then why do you need me?" in response to this a few times. Sometimes I get a stammering, "Well, you see, I'm trying to help you," in response. But one time the dude just laughed and said, "Okay, you got me." When moving out of a rental apartment or house, make sure to take lots of pictures, and ask the owner or landlord to do a walkthrough with you. Video the walkthrough. That way, if they do not give you all your deposit back, you have something to take to court versus he said, which you generally lose. When you turn in cable/internet equipment, make sure to get a full receipt showing what they took in and the date it was received. Scan this, and email to a couple different email accounts. Comcast and others are bad about losing the equipment a couple years later, after you forget, and then billing you. See ya. Similarly, take pics of any existing damage to a rental as soon as you move in, and email it to the landlord/leasing office. I did this after a landlord told us he took the last tenant's entire security deposit for damage. To be fair, it sounded like the tenant really messed shit up. I took that as a flag, and sent him a very detailed email of every hint of damage I could find. 12 months later, after we moved out, he emailed me to say he was going to deduct $100 from our security for damage. I reminded him of the email I sent him, and never heard from the effer again. Edit, as my highest rated comment to date, this is literally the best experience involving that landlord I ever had. The closing down sale in the shop that never closes down. It's just, in closing down sale mode, continuously. I'm amazed, shops are allowed to get away with this. Closing down sale until 5 p.m. Grand reopening sale, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Debt collectors will have detectives call you from a number that appears to be a legitimate law enforcement agency when you Google it. It's actually a spoofed caller ID, using a legitimate agency's fax number. The detective will threaten arrest, and throw around names of local judges. The debt collector will claim to not know the detective who left the message, but will be willing to take care of your debt. Edit time. Yes, it's illegal, but it's very hard to prove, and that's why they do it. Law enforcement, or courts, will only call you in the case of theft, like a hot check, but will never call for an old debt. It's civil, and they don't have jurisdiction. Worked in a family-owned pharmacy for a few years. Find yourself a family-owned pharmacy if you, A, don't want to go through your insurance, B, don't have insurance, or C, you'd like to support the working class, and not Walmart or CVS. People would call us and ask for a cash price for their medication. We would be hundreds of dollars cheaper than Walmart on almost every prescription. I remember quoting someone a 90-day medication at $20, and they said Walmart was going to charge $250. The reason I said the things about not going through insurance is because insurance companies tell the pharmacy how much to charge you, and tell the pharmacy how much the medications cost. Shit, add insurance companies to this list. Family-owned pharmacies are losing so much money because of the way insurance companies work. The three-tiered pricing approach, especially for things like roofing or basement waterproofing. The contractor starts with a ridiculously high-priced quote for way more stuff than you asked for, steps down to a more moderate quote of what you wanted, with a few bells and whistles, then the third quote is for what you requested. This gives you the illusion of choice, and reduces sticker shock, because although your requested absolute minimum service is really expensive, it's only half the cost of their recommended repairs. Petco will sell you non-aquatic plants specifically for your aquarium that will poison everything in the tank. Petco is horrendous. One of the few times I've ever called a corporate office was when my wife and I walked into a Petco and noticed a tank full of rats were lying in an inch of water from a broken water bottle. We told two staff members, who barely even acknowledged we'd spoken. The third employee was the woman at checkout, who quietly told us we should call their corporate. She seemed to be the only one who cared, including the person on the phone. Maybe not dirty, but incompetent contractors will often way underbid jobs. So, if you request a bunch of quotes, and all the bids are relatively close, except for one that's way lower, there's roughly a 100% chance that guy will screw it up, and you'll have a nightmare on your hands. Sometimes you get what you pay for. Also, FWTW, if a bid is high, it probably means they don't want the job. Edit, for everyone asking why you would bid high, rather than just reject the job, it's considered unprofessional to just not bid a job. It leaves a sour taste in customers' mouths when you just outright don't even give them a price. Reasons you don't want the job could include: 1. You're out of manpower and can't staff it. 2. There's something about the job that makes you not want to deal with it. For example, fixing an air conditioning that wasn't installed right means you could be looking at a job that is actually going to take months, still not be right after you're done, and the customer could blame you, not the original contractor. No thanks. 3. Customer is in a hole or difficult in some way. He might have non-a-hole friends, however, you don't want him bad-mouthing to. So, the goal is don't piss him off, but also try not to work for him, either. Edit 2, should have put this in the original comment. Sometimes they will outright steal from you or half do a job, take the money and run. They count on you being either too poor or too passive to take them to court. An older fellow I know had a bodega, and he'd put a can of cream corn on the counter by the register. This was some time ago, so the van had a price tag of 17 cents. He sold that can of cream corn to everyone who bought anything there. If they realized they were paying too much, he'd just say he thought that was their can of corn. Most people didn't notice though, and he sold that same can of cream corn maybe 20 times a day. That seems like a lot of work for $3. Well, it was the 70s. Nowadays, you'd probably be able to make $100 or so each day. The trick relies on people's inattention and poor math skills, so I figure it's probably still functional. I always check my receipts now, since learning the trick, and I've caught a few instances of people trying it on me. My elementary school would host a fun day every year, where there were booths, games, activities, etc. They'd get the kids to help out with various small tasks, too. One year when I was about 9, my task was to help sell the little potted geraniums, 25 cents each. Well, no one was buying any of them, so I had a brilliant idea. I made a new sign that said, "Buy one for $1, get 3 free." Those little geraniums sold like hotcakes after that. I was so proud of myself. I told the principal. He did not approve, though he let me do it anyway. It's a wonder I didn't turn into a little Gordon gecko. Probably only the Bowenites kept it in check. My son's school does something like this. They give out tickets throughout the year, then have kids bring in something to sell for tickets and hold a little mini market for all the children to set up ticket shops. My son couldn't think of a good idea, so I said, "Why not buy or sell tickets for RL money?" We set up our booth. We were buying tickets from kids for a nickel, and selling tickets to kids for a dime. Walked out of there with the original $20 in nickels I had provided, plus about another $5 in dimes which my son kept, and my son had so many tickets left over, that he was able to buy a bunch of stuff from other kids' stations, including candy and games. His teacher and principal were upset, because they had complaints from parents, because they felt like we were ripping off their children. I told his principal that since the purpose of this activity was to teach the kids how economy works, what better way to teach my son this than to show him how companies make profit? They told me we weren't allowed to do that again, so next year we'll be setting up a pyramid scheme for tickets. In high-end IT, vendors will often go dark in the months before a service contract renewal or infrastructure refresh is needed. The idea behind this is that the customer is forced to come to them, or they can come to the customer with little enough time to complete the refresh, that they are either forced to make a purchase on bad footing for price negotiations, or renew service agreements for an additional year, at a higher rate, while migrating to new gear. My school got an entirely new system for enrolling in classes and such, and we've been having a lot of problems with it. One of my teachers said, the school has tried calling the company that installed it, and they've just disappeared. They can't even get a hold of this company at all. Edit, the school is University of Cincinnati, and the system is called Catalyst. Be careful if your friend from high school messages you out of the blue on Facebook. They have something to sell you, or some pyramid scheme they want you to join. Edit might. Edit 2. Multi-level marketing companies ruin or tarnish the relationships between family and friends of people that work for them. Giving someone a promotion just to get them back on a probationary period, so they can be fired without cause or repercussion. Happened to my wife recently. They were able to twist some information to make her look bad enough to can, and with no risk of legal recourse, because she was on probation with her new position. Wife said they did the exact same thing to someone within the past year. Guy won Employee of the Year, was promoted, and promptly fired. Edit, holy inbox, thanks for the replies and support. I'm doing my best to read everything and sneak responses in between work. I'll be sure to read everything later at home. And to the others that have had some variation of this happen to them, I said this in a reply somewhere below: success is the best revenge. Prove these people wrong by proving yourself right. Edit 2, she had a phone interview this afternoon, her first interview since this all went down, and was asked to come in for a follow-up to meet them in person. Not out of the woods yet, but we're making progress. Edit 3, just wanted to clarify, she held a U.S. county government position, which makes the rules a little different when it comes to these situations. I don't want to get into any more detail about the field she worked in, but I can say that anything legal we could throw at them would not go well, and could potentially blackball her from other positions in the county or state. Themes the breaks. I waited tables in a restaurant, and one time I decided to pour a cup of soup into an empty bowl. A bowl of soup costs a good bit more than a cup of soup at the restaurant. The cup filled up the bowl to the top. Oh shit, I hope I'm not too late to get this out there. When I was working in sales, this is what they taught me to psychologically trick people into buying whatever shit we were selling. Strap in, this could be long. First up, everything I learned in sales worked through what they called impulse selling, which means playing on people's tendencies to make a decision based on their current state of emotion. salesmen will build your level of impulse, and then close you. The close is the point at which they seal the deal, and you give them your money, in exchange for whatever they have convinced you that you need. There are 5 basic ways that salesmen will impulse you. The acronym they taught us was GIFTS. The first was greed. People are naturally greedy. By which I mean, they want more for their money. They want a good deal. If people think they can make or save money, they are more inclined to buy. An example of this is basic half price, or buy X, get Y free, sales. I stands for indifference. People can smell desperation. If they sense that you have a motive for wanting them to do something, like buy, they will be more wary and want to know your reasons. Therefore, a salesman will try to make it seem as though they do not care whether or not you buy, even if they are on commission. After all, they are only offering you this amazing deal for your own benefit. They have nothing to gain. Third was fear of loss, causing people to worry that they will miss out if they don't buy. This can be exploited by making people think that this is their one and only opportunity to purchase at a reduced rate, or used in conjunction with greed. For example, buy in the next 60 minutes, and get X free. The Joneses theory. If your community is getting on board with an idea, there is no reason that you shouldn't too. It's safe. It's all the rage. Everybody's doing it. Don't miss out. This also ties in with fear of loss. The last one is sense of urgency. Can be used in similar ways as fear of loss, for example, buy in the next 60 minutes, or else X, or as subtly as a salesman saying that they have other appointments and won't be able to come back and offer you this deal for a too long period of time. A sense of urgency causes people to buy more impulsively, especially when coupled with a fear of loss. Once salesmen have impulsed you enough, they will try to close you. I was also taught a number of techniques to close. The first was the assumptive close. This is basically assuming that the person will buy and filling out the paperwork. A common example of this is a salesman simply asking for your name and the proceeding with the sale. They will fill out an entire form and then just ask you to sign at the end. This is often assisted by the trial close, where a salesman will slowly push you over the line, while at the same time testing you to see if you are impulsed enough to buy. They will do this by asking you closed questions, aimed at steering you down a conversational track which leads to a sale. Charity workers do this a lot, when they ask, "Do you like dolphins?" "Yes." "Do you think dolphins' habitats should be protected?" "Yes." "How much do you spend on beer, tea, coffee, a week?" $5 to $50. "Do you think you could put $X towards saving the dolphins?" Well, I guess you got me there. Another powerful close is the alternative close, where salesmen will offer you one of 2 choices, both of which result in a sale. So, would you like the regular option, or the slick deluxe? Often presented assumptively, see assumptive close. The last was the silent close. Harder to use, but effective with indecisive buyers or people that pull back when pressured. Basically presenting the overwhelming positives with the easily countered negatives, and then shifting control of the conversation to the buyer, and forcing them to say yes or no. Obviously, the salesman has presented the information in such a way that you would be stupid to say no. After building tension and excitement for the product, they let you come to the decision themselves. Almost every person who sells goods or services has been taught something along these lines, and the most successful salesmen have this information at the forefront of their minds when they are selling to you. Never forget it. These people just want your money. They honestly do not generally care what you get out of it. Edit, some spelling plus DYFTGKS. Also, if anyone ever wants to give me gold, please donate it to a dolphin sanctuary or something, instead. Thanks.